The Detroit Pistons are not the same team over the last 6 games, and I have the stats to prove it. Hey, Pistons fans, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of Pistons Daily, a podcast where we bring you daily Pistons content. I'm your host, Tony Nash, and let's talk about what's going on with our Detroit Pistons. First off, tonight we have a matchup. We're back at home against Portland. Good to be back in the D. The Blazers are a 9-13 team. And tonight is George Blaha bobblehead night. And so I'm not going to be able to be at the game. So if you're at the game and you could snag an extra, it's the first 2,500 fans, I believe. If you happen to snag a George Blaha bobblehead and you're willing to part with it, send me a message. I'd love to talk to you about getting my hands on one of those, but I cannot make it to the game tonight. But it's good to be back home and playing against a Portland team that's kind of been up and down. Not a great team, but have had some big wins. They got Matisse Thybulle, Scoot Henderson are both listed as out. Drew Holiday is a game time decision, so obviously if he's there, he'll help them a lot. Sasser is still listed as out for tonight. Sasser, Klintman, and Duncan Robinson are all listed as game time decisions. So will this be the first night we see Sasser this season? Will he help us with our outside shooting issues? Will he continue to further the ongoing rotation issues that we are having? And obviously, it'd be great to have Duncan Robinson back, as it is a notable difference with him off the court. The Pistons were 9-2 at home, so we got to protect our place. But we are certainly a different team lately. We are certainly not playing the same basketball we were playing in the first 16 games. The Blazers are only 6-7 on the road, so it's a good opportunity for us tonight to capture an easier win. Again, I always say there's no such thing as an easy win in the NBA, but an easier win tonight. Avdija is averaging 25 for them. Caleb Love has been coming off the bench and shooting the lights out lately. He's averaging 4 threes a game off the bench, so we got to make sure we don't let him get going. The Pistons legend, Jeremy Grant, is averaging 19 a game this year. Always plays well against Detroit, and so we're going to have to isolate him tonight and make sure we watch him. The Blazers are coming off a big win against Cleveland. They beat Cleveland pretty good the other night. And then they almost beat Toronto, just barely lost to Toronto. So those are both teams that we have to beat. Obviously, Cleveland spanked us early in the season, have not played Toronto yet, but they're one of the top teams in the East. Both of them are top teams in the East, and they beat one and gave the other one the business. So we're going to have to play some good basketball tonight. They're actually the only team in the NBA right now to have beaten OKC this year. So we know OKC has one loss. That came against Portland back on like November 5th, I believe. So it could have been just one of those nights, but they're the only team to beat OKC, and OKC looks tough, man. They look like they're going to be a tough team all year long. And so they've also beat the Warriors this year. They beat the Bucks. So they have some good wins under their belt, and we're going to have to really bring it tonight. So are we going to see more zone defense? You know, to me, if I'm a coach in the NBA right now, I'm saying let's play zone against the Pistons, make them hit some outside shots. Of course, they will not be without their head coach, still my favorite all-time Piston, Chauncey Billups, of course, because of the controversy, as we're calling it. He will not be there, obviously, tonight. But will they be playing a zone defense? What are the rotations going to look like? Again, are we rotating Sasser in tonight? Are we going to have Duncan Robinson back? How does that look? How does that look with the rotations? And then our shooting, obviously hoping to see a big improvement in shooting. We have to fix the turnovers. Again, only 14 the other night, but 8 in the fourth quarter, and it definitely cost us the game. So I'm hoping to see that we've addressed the turnovers tonight and we protect the ball. And then we got to get Cade going early, in my opinion. You know, we can't have him being passive in the first quarter. We got to get him going early. I think that just takes the pressure off the other guys. So let me know in the comments what you think about tonight's game. How do we look against Portland? What are your predictions? What are your thoughts about what things need to happen in order to make sure that, you know, we secure a win tonight? We need to secure a win. We need to get back on regular winning. And again, as I said yesterday, the sky is not falling, but the Pistons are 3-3 in the last 6 games. And they are certainly not the same Pistons team we saw in the first 16 games. And I have some stats here to prove that. But if you've been watching, you know that something just looks different. Something looks off. Of course, I've given a lot of opinion about too many rotations. Most teams do not play 11, 12 guys every night, significant minutes. And some of our best players are getting affected by it. Asar Thompson, most notably, I think. And then even some of our key role players like Ron Holland. And I think Paul Reed should be a key rotation player. They're getting less minutes because we're just trying to give everybody. And at some point, we're now a quarter of the way through the season. All right. At some point, we have to just start playing our best players and not trying to rotate everyone. Listen, I'm a fan of every single guy on this squad. Maybe, and I'm even a fan of Karis LeVert. I know some of you don't think that's true. I'm a fan of him, just not a fan of him on the Detroit Pistons. I want to see all these guys do well. I want to see these guys get minutes, but it's just not going to work if we continue to do it. But over the first 16 games, I want to share some stats with you. Over the first 16 games, we were actually second in defensive rating in the NBA, only second to OKC. We had a 110 defensive rating, and we were playing lockdown, incredible defense. It was becoming our identity. The last 6 games, we are actually 9th in defensive rating over the last 6 games. And so that's a big difference. And again, to me, we're pretty much healthy. We've had, Duncan Robinson's been out, but these last 6 games have been ugly. Even the games we've won have not been good wins. And we're squeaking them out, and that's always positive when you squeak out a win. But that's a huge drop-off in defense. And so is it because guys aren't in? Is it because too much rotation? What do you think? The first 16 games, we were 8th in offense in the NBA. We are now 18th in offensive output in the NBA. We were in the top 5 in half-court offense. We were actually leading the league in points in the paint. We were in the top 5. We are now the 27th over the last 6 games. We're not ranked that on the year, but over the last 6 games, we are 27th in the NBA in half-court offense. And so does zone have something to do with that? Certainly. Have teams figured that out? So how do we beat that, right? A good team should be able to cook a zone, and a zone defense should be easier to beat. But again, we're a team that kind of just rams it down into the paint, and we're going to play hard, gritty, gutsy basketball, and then packing the paint is making it very difficult on our bigs. And so outside shooting has to happen in order to extend the defense out so that we open up some more one-on-one opportunities for our bigs. Love to play some inside-out basketball, but what's happening is we're trying that, and we're kicking it to the outside, and we're missing. Again, we shot 42, 43 threes the other night and only made 13 of them. And so I think we're trying to do that, but our guys just start hitting shots. We were 4th in net overall rating over the first 16 games. Now we are 15th in net overall rating. And then those first 16 games, we were listed 15th in the league in turnovers, which, is just kind of middle of the road. It's not great. It's not horrible. You can survive with it. You can improve upon it. But over the last 6 games, listen to this, we are dead last in turnover rating, turnover percentage. The only one that's close to us, the next closest, is Brooklyn, which is a terrible, terrible team. And so the turnovers are an issue, and that's not going to get it done. We are not going to be a team that competes for a championship with these kind of numbers. And so our guys just getting comfortable, our guys getting lax. Is it the rotation? What do you guys think it is? I mean, obviously, we can point out what's happening, but what's at the core of this? I'm going to stay strong that I believe it's too much rotation, and guys just don't have chemistry. They don't have legs. They don't have their wind. And so we're just not getting the output that we were when guys come in these short 3-4 minute stints. And then when you got guys like Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren sitting for 15-20 minutes of real sit time in a stint. And so got to fix those things. Obviously, shooting has to improve. I think at some point as we get closer to the trade deadline, we're going to have to look at some shooting. Maybe we'll get Beasley back. That would be great. That would be a big help for us. I know I've kind of squashed all trade rumors, and I still don't think we should make a trade just yet. We got to continue to see how this thing plays out. But I think as we get closer to the trade deadline, some shooting a stretch four, although you've given you my opinions on the stretch four solution that we should at least try with Isaiah Stewart. And then our defense has to improve. You know, listen, when Asar was in the game the other night, we were a plus 45. This is in our loss, what would have been on Wednesday night. Asar only played 25 minutes. We were a plus 45 when he was in the game and a negative 52 when he was out of the game. And so that's almost 100. I mean, that's a 100-point swing. And Asar has to play more. Even if he's not a great shooter, his defensive impact is absolutely a must for our team. And we're rotating him out for guys like Javonte Green and Ron Holland. Sometimes even like a Karis LeVert is getting some of his minutes. And that cannot be. We have to play Asar. He is one of the cornerstone pieces of our team. We got to play him more. And so I'd love to hear your opinions on this. The first 16 games versus the last 6 games. Listen, I've been watching basketball a long time, as I'm sure a lot of you have, and I knew there was going to come a point or multiple points in the season where it wasn't going to be as great as it was those first 16 games. It was wonderful. You started wondering, who's going to beat this team, right? But the NBA is a very difficult league. It's a long season. So I knew these things would come to pass, but it's not a sky is falling moment, in my opinion, as I said yesterday. But what are your opinions on why these things are happening? What are your opinions on why we're struggling to get some wins right now? Obviously, the stats speak for themselves, but what is at the heart of the issue? And, you know, we talked a little about getting some shooting. And let me switch to my next screen here. One second here. Bear with me just a moment, folks. I got to grab something here so that we can continue our discussion today. There we go. So I don't know if you saw this, but in the news lately, our good old coach Stan Van Gundy. Now, I was not a fan of Stan Van when he was here. He says that he wishes that he would have drafted Devin Booker, and says, if I had drafted Devin Booker to the Pistons, I would probably still be coaching. And I thought that was very interesting because in the offseason, I was really hot on the idea of, I think we need to try to bring Devin Booker to Detroit. Devin Booker is a Michigan guy raised in Grand Rapids, loves the Tigers, loves the Red Wings, and I know he can't say it, but loves the Pistons. He's in Michigan all the time, in Detroit. You'll see him from time to time wearing his Tigers gear, wearing his Lions gear, wearing his Red Wings gear. And Devin Booker is a top player in the NBA, a great scorer, great defender. I don't know, I'd love to hear your opinions on Devin Booker. I think he could fit really, really good here in Detroit. Now, at the beginning of the season, as I saw a lot of things that happened in the offseason and with the uncertainty of Jaden Ivey, I was like, hey, let's not make any rash decisions. Let's see how Ivey pans out. And I still am on that train. Let's see how Ivey pans out. He looked really good Wednesday night. He's only going to continue to improve as his minutes go up, I believe. But what do you think about bringing a guy like Devin Booker to the Pistons? Would we like to see Book in a Pistons uniform? And what would we have to give up for him? What would you be willing to give up for him? Again, it probably would be a very rich trade. He has a huge contract right now. So we'd spend a lot of money, and we'd probably have to give up a lot of key guys. Certainly would have to give up Jaden Ivey. We would probably have to give up Isaiah Stewart. We'd probably have to give up guys like Ron Holland. We'd have to give up Karis LeVert and probably multiple picks. We can certainly not pull an LA Clippers and gut the entire team and mortgage our future for one player. And it's actually killing the NBA right now because OKC seems unstoppable, and it certainly looks like they're going to be good for a long time. But I want to say this. If Stan Van had drafted Book, we would not have Cade right now. And we probably would not have JD right now. And so I'm glad he didn't draft Book. You never know what would have happened. But I'm glad he didn't draft him. I love Cade. I love JD, and I love a lot of our guys. But man, do we want to bring a Devin Booker to the Pistons? Would he fit with our guys? Would he fit with our team? You know, to me, a big part about playing for Detroit, and this is one of the reasons I love Jaden Ivey, is because not a lot of NBA players want to play in Detroit. That's just the case. Not a lot of players want to play in Detroit. And Cade talking about how much he loves Detroit, it just speaks to me. And Jaden Ivey has Detroit roots with his mother, and he said he wanted to play for the Pistons. So to me, having a guy that wants to be here is huge, and that's why I've been so pro Jaden Ivey, and I still am. But do we like Booker? Let me know in the comments what you think. Is Booker a viable option? What would have to happen? What are your mock trades? Let's get talking about it in the comments, and let's see what we think. But for now, let's get a big win tonight against the Blazers. And the last thing I want to round this off with, I don't know if you guys know the little corgi. They make videos all the time, and he does a lot of sports predictions by like bouncing a ball into different baskets or going and picking up a little snack by a team. And it's crazy, but his predictions are actually really accurate. He's had a pretty high success rate. And obviously we know that a dog doesn't know. It's just a fun thing that people use, but his winning percentage is pretty accurate. And they put out a video where they did the whole Eastern Conference, the Western Conference, and Corgi is predicting that the Eastern Conference Finals will be the New York Knicks versus your Detroit Pistons. And that would be great to get there. What a matchup that would be to see those two teams going head-to-head in the Eastern Conference Finals. That would be must-see TV for sure. Of course, Corgi picked the Knicks to get to the finals. That would be heartbreaking. But if you haven't watched it, go check it out. I think it's Air Korg. He does his little predictions, and he's got the Pistons going to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it got me thinking, what do you think, fans? How far is this team going to go this year? Like, separate your fandom and that our team is always going to be there, because we know that's just not true. Looking at how our team's performing, first 16 versus last 6, things that need to be improved upon, things that we can fix. Where do you see this team? What's the ceiling for this team? Not long term, but this year, 25-26 season. What is your prediction for where this team is going to go? I'd love to hear it. I think we have the pieces now. If we can play like we played in those first 16 games consistently, I think we're legit. I really do, and I think that we can make some noise and even get there in the finals. How do we do against a team like OKC in the finals? Well, we'll find out how we match up against those Eastern Conference teams, but they're really, really good. So let me know what you think about the matchup tonight against the Blazers. What are your thoughts about the last 6 games? What needs to change? How do we fix it? Let me know about Book and Stan Van. Give me some Stan Van opinion in the comments. I'd love to see it. Were you a Stan Van fan? I was not. And what were your thoughts about Stan Van and his quote that if he had drafted Book, he would still be coaching in the NBA? And then how far do how these Pistons go this year? So that's all I got for you guys today. Let's go Pistons tonight. Have yourselves a good weekend. Let's make sure that we subscribe to the channel if you hadn't. Hit that notification bell. And thanks for being a part of this. I'm really enjoying talking to you guys every day, enjoying your comments. And as always, Detroit basketball. Let's go, baby.